Hello YouTube, what's up? It's Cheeky Curations here and we're going to be doing another ranking video. This time it's going to be all of the Spider-Man films, ranking them from worst to best. Let's begin. So, starting off the bottom of the list, we've got The Amazing Spider-Man. I'm not saying it was a bad film, but I just don't really think it did anything much different from the Tobey Maguire film. I did think Andrew Garfield was a good Spider-Man though. He brought a lot of cheek to the character. Whereas I feel like Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man, he was good. He did have some cheek to him, but Andrew Garfield was a bit more smart crack and had a few one-liners. But yeah, I thought The Amazing Spider-Man was a decent film. I quite liked the subplot with the lizard. So I did think it was alright, but just not really much nothing special. Following that, I'm gonna say Spider-Man Far From Home. Well, I mean, it was a hard thing for Spider-Man Far From Home to follow Avengers Endgame, which was one of the biggest Marvel films ever. So it was a bit difficult to kind of come from Avengers Endgame all the way to Spider-Man Far From Home. But film I feel like was decent. It had a good plot, but just nothing really much happened. Mysterio was a decent villain. Jake Gyllenhaal was actually a very good actor, so it was good to watch him in that. And fun fact about Jake Gyllenhaal, he was going to replace Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man 2 because Tobey Maguire had a back injury. They were considering him to replace him as Peter Parker in Spider-Man, which I think he would have been a decent Spider-Man, but it was still good to watch him as Mysterio. But yeah, Spider-Man Far From Home, it's all right. Not better than The Amazing Spider-Man because I think it did a bit something original, have Spider-Man away from America in Europe, but still not really special, I would say. Okay, following that, I would say probably The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I thought The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was a step up to Amazing Spider-Man 1. I know that's a controversial opinion because a lot of people think The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is the weakest Spider-Man film in the Spider-Man film franchise, but I actually quite enjoy it. It's kind of my guilty pleasure. I liked Electro. Rhino was a bit wasted and Green Goblin was a bit rushed. But yeah, I think that's where I'd rank The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Following that, I'm going to say, okay, you're going to all hate me for this, but Spider-Man No Way Home. I know what you're thinking, we're going to click off the video, but hear me out. Spider-Man No Way Home was a fun film. It was good little nostalgia. It was amazing getting to see the Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland Spider-Man all together alongside with all the villains from the previous Spider-Man films. But I just felt like it was based on nostalgia, really. There wasn't really much of an interesting plot other than just reuniting these old faces. But just because of the nostalgia factor is why I rank it a bit higher. I feel like Spider-Man No Far From Home did set up a better plot point, cliffhanger ending, and then Spider-Man No Way Home kind of just retconned that, which if you're going to know me in my future videos, I do not like retconning at all. It can sometimes make or break a franchise. It can sometimes even put me off a franchise. I'm talking about you, Fast and Furious, but that'll be a video for another time. But yeah, Spider-Man No Way Home, I think it's just the nostalgia that made me really enjoy it. But yeah, following that, we've got Spider-Man 3, the Tobey Maguire one. I actually thought Spider-Man 3 was quite decent. I know a lot of people had its issues with it. Don't get me wrong, it has its problems, but I feel like it did quite a good job at a lot of stuff. But we'll talk about the bad things first. I feel like the Harry Osborn Green Goblin was a bit underused. They were setting him up as the main villain for the third film from the second film, but it just kind of fell flat. I thought Sandman was hit and miss. They kind of used him, but I feel like they spent a lot of the film trying to build Venom up as the main villain. But it was a slow build, and we only got to see Venom very shortly, kind of like in the game in the way. But still, though, I thought the film was a fun watch. It was good having three Spider-Man villains all together, and it was a good ending to the trilogy. So yeah, that'll be the ranking. And following that, I'm going to say Across the Spider-Verse. Beyond the Spider-Verse hasn't even come out yet, forget me. Across the Spider-Verse was actually very good. I did like it. It was, again, a bit like No Way Home. It was awesome going into the Spider-Verse, seeing all these Spider-Man and a little bit of nostalgia, but I just felt like it ended quite abruptly, if I'm going to be honest. Very big cliffhanger, but I still feel like it was a good film. It was Miles Morales dealing with some inner conflict and trying to. It was kind of going against the whole "with great power comes great responsibility" slogan. And I thought him and his conflict with Spider-Man 2099 was a decent film, decent part of the story. So yeah, I'd probably put that up there. But I did prefer the first Spider-Verse film, but we're going to be speaking that later on. Following that is Spider-Man Homecoming. I love Spider-Man Homecoming. Spider-Man Homecoming was a very good start for Tom Holland's solo Spider-Man films. I felt like the Vulture was an amazing villain. He was very well done. He was quite different to a lot of the other Spider-Man villains in the case of he was doing stuff to benefit his family, whereas all the other Spider-Man villains were kind of affected by a real life disaster. Whereas Sandman was kind of like that in Spider-Man 3, but he became the Sandman before, not after, when he had the problem. Whereas the Vulture, he became the Vulture to provide for his family because he was let go by Tony Stark. Okay, there's a little spoiler alert in Spider-Man Homecoming during the Avengers battle. So I thought it was interesting, throwing it back to the first Avengers film, and kind of doing a lot of world building. And Iron Man, I feel like, was very perfectly used in the film. They didn't overuse him to the point he stole the show away from Spider-Man, but they used him just enough to have an impact on the story. And it was just good to mix it up, because I feel like what I criticised The Amazing Spider-Man for was copying the first Spider-Man film, Tobey Maguire. I thought Spider-Man Homecoming did a good job already establishing Spider-Man as Spider-Man. So yeah, I did like that. So yeah, Spider-Man Homecoming is up on that list. And following that is Spider-Man 2, the Tobey Maguire one. I thought that was good. I liked how it really went into Peter Parker's mindset of him trying to balance out being Spider-Man, but also being Peter Parker, and that kind of the inner conflict of it. And he finds it overwhelming to the point that he quits being Spider-Man. But yeah, Dr. Octopus was an amazing villain as well. I enjoyed his fight scenes a lot. And yeah, you can't really go wrong with Spider-Man 2. And I feel like he did a good job setting up Harry Osborn. Just a shame it got ruined in Spider-Man 3. Following that, I'm going to say Into the Spider-Verse. Into the Spider-Verse, I wasn't the most hyped for it. I just kind of thought, oh, whatever. But I loved it. It's actually my favourite animated film of all time, Into the Spider-Verse. Miles Morales proved to be an amazing Spider-Man. I loved seeing all the Spider-Mans from the multiverses all come together. I liked having an older Peter Parker, mental Miles Morales. It just felt like a real good film to watch. And it's based in Christmas. You can't hate a Christmas film. And Kingpin was a decent but tragic villain as well. But yeah, Into the Spider-Verse is my number 2. And finally, my number 1, I'm just going to say it right now, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man film. It is my favourite Spider-Man film. It was the first one that came out. I was in love with it. I watched it multiple times on the VHS. Those videotapes we had back in the day. So yeah, it was just a nostalgic film to watch. And I thought Green Goblin was a very good villain. I like how it slowly built up to Peter Parker becoming Spider-Man, and also really honing in that great power comes great responsibility that we've known for Spider-Man. So yeah, I would say Spider-Man 1 is my favourite Spider-Man film of all time. Alright, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Feel free to give a like and subscribe for future videos. And let me know down in the comments what your favourite Spider-Man film is. Thank you, goodbye.